Hello and welcome to Zenatta Consulting's monthly webinar series. This one is on Zoho Subscriptions. This is getting started and a full tutorial from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the webinar.
And before we do that, we'll start with some announcements. Our August webinar is going to be on CRM Plus. It's going to be a full product overview, and that's going to be August 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And if you want to know anything and all Zoho related events, just go ahead and head over to zenatta.com/events. It's not just our events, it's every event from any other partner that we can find, all Zoho events, they're all there. It's kind of a single stop to kind of find out what's going on in the world of Zoho and check it out. With that, let's get right on into our subscriptions webinar. We're going to start off with why Zoho subscriptions. Then Tyler's going to take you through settings. I'm going to take you through setting up products and plans, coupons and add-ons. Tyler's going to run you through widgets and websites, and then I'm going to take you through managing a subscription, and then we'll have a Q&A. If you do have any questions, please drop them into the Q&A box, and we will get with you on that as soon as we can, either in the show or at the very end of the show, we'll have a Q&A. With that, we'll talk about why Zoho subscriptions. If you've never visited Zenatta.com's website, we have a section called resources, and you can click on apps, and we kind of talk about, we have a yes, no, maybe. This is an application we absolutely love. This app is just rock solid, and it's got a lot of great features. One of the things that I really want to point out, and Tyler brings this up all the time, is that Zoho doesn't charge any transaction fees for using Zoho subscriptions. And sure, you're going to have to pay your credit card fees. So if you're on Stripe, you're going to pay your 2.9% plus 30 cents. But Zoho itself is not charging you a piece of that transaction. And Tyler, that's completely different than a lot of the other ones that are out there. If you look at like a Recurly or whatever, they actually charge a fee.
Recurly, then they'll waive it for a while, but eventually it gets added where you're paying basically an extra % on top of all of your subscriptions. And, you know, subscription services kind of sell that percentage in terms of the features that they have around managing things, doing the retries of credit cards if it fails, but saving that extra % over time can add up to a lot of extra cash.
It really can. And by the way, that also applies to Zoho Backstage, which is their events thing. So if you have Eventbrite charges per ticket fee, Zoho doesn't charge fees for that. And as with any subscription plan, I guess what I should say is it's full featured. It pretty much has everything you would want to do around subscriptions. And if you're a Zoho user, it's kind of a no-brainer, especially if you're using Zoho Books, because the automations you can do with it in your CRM, you can, when someone pays their subscription, you know, because it's all kind of one ecosystem, you can go ahead and note that they paid their subscription. You know, maybe they get a credit or something. You can add credits into the CRM. You can just go into the CRM, see where they are. There's just so much you can do once you've got it all integrated in a system. And even if you're using it as a standalone product, it is full featured, as you will see. So with that, we're going to dive right into kind of a settings overview so you can kind of get a look at the back end, and then we'll take you through the rest of the product.
Sweet. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into these settings here. And I'll highlight first, if you did see our books webinar, some of these settings are kind of shared. I'll highlight those ones as we go through because, you know, in some cases, if you change something in subscriptions, it's also going to change it in books automatically. So I think it's important just to know that with some of these settings as we go through. So kind of jumping in here, when you first log into Zoho Subscriptions, you're going to see that settings cog up in the top right. It seems like every month, one more Zoho app gets moved over where their settings icon is that cog. They're kind of streamlining that across all the different applications so that it's just one icon. So up there in the top right, if we open up that cog, it's basically going to pull out a whole set of our settings here. And so if you are a books user, this is probably looking pretty familiar. Some of these settings are exactly the same. So we'll jump through these now. So we'll go ahead and start with the organization profile. This is kind of just the top level information about your company. So this is things like your logo, which actually will show up on your subscription pages. So it's important to put that in at a nice aspect ratio and quality. Kind of the standard across the Zoho Books applications is 240 by 240 in terms of the pixels. We, for this webinar, decided to do a little side venture here, doing the Zenatta car wash and hot dog stand. So that logo, we just kind of pulled off of Google and dropped it right in here, and everything looks great. Moving down the page, you can define what the URL should be of your portal. That can be important because it shows up in the URLs. Depending on how you're going to actually capture the payment information, that URL may be visible. So you want to make sure that you change that if necessary. Kind of moving down, just some things that, again, are similar to books. You can decide on your industry type, business location, the company address. Moving down the page, setting up things like your primary contact and any of your email senders. You can define your fiscal year, your tax basis, all these various elements. But again, important to keep in mind, this is all going to affect books. So if I change my fiscal year here, I'm changing it inside of books. Now, because it's all part of your finance suite, that's probably how you'd want it, but it's just important to know that a lot of these settings are shared. Moving down into roles, this is kind of where it does diverge from books. So within books, you have your own set of profiles and roles because the various items inside of books are different. You're going to set up permissions around a sales order. Over here in subscriptions, there are no sales orders. So we've got a different set of roles and permissions. So up in the top right, I can go ahead and create a new role. And we'll see, again, similar to books, you kind of get this line by line ability to choose what people should be able to do and see and create, and delete. So if we're going to set up kind of a basic example role here, maybe we would want to give them, view permissions to any products and plans or add-ons and coupons. Maybe we don't want this user to be able to create a coupon, right? They could share with their friends for 100% discount, right? Maybe this is just kind of a customer service person who needs to know what these products and plans are, but might not need to work with them specifically and change the pricing or change the features that are listed on any of these plans. But in that same case, maybe for the customers, we want this person to be able to go in and update a customer's phone number or update a customer's email that's on file for the subscription. So we might want to give them the ability to actually create or edit customers. And so you can kind of go line by line based on the specific item or the specific functionality that you want to adjust. That also affects down to even what types of settings they can work with, what types of reports they can pull, if they can download or create any documents in the system or edit any active subscriptions. So again, you'll want to go in here. There's a lot of detail and you want to think through kind of the use case and functions for all these various people that are working in subscriptions as you go ahead and set these up. And so now we'll kind of move forward from the users and roles here into our preferences. This kind of, again, some of these are going to be shared with books. So if you wanted to change the invoice naming system, maybe you wanted a different prefix or you wanted to start with a different set of numbers, you could change that here. Some of the additional settings around invoices for grouping them and calendar billing, those are unique to subscriptions because you're kind of thinking about when you want these invoices to go out or be billed. But the invoice numbering and custom fields are going to be applied to books, inventory, all those various settings or all those various applications. You also have a suite of branding tools that you can go ahead and install. So again, here's where we've kind of dropped in our logo. You can set up some different themes for kind of how you want the customer portal to look and how you want your sign up page to look. You can kind of go through there. I think they've got some default ones. And, if you go a little deeper, you can set up some various hex codes as well in there. Now the subscription portal, this is something that you might want on or you might not, just depending on your business. So the portal will basically allow people to log in as a client to Zoho Books and see their subscriptions, see their next billing dates. You can set up some settings if you want them to be able to cancel or upgrade through that, or if you kind of want it to be view only. One important thing to note is that the checkbox down there at the bottom to enable customer portal for customers automatically is oftentimes checked when you kind of start up with subscriptions. So oftentimes you might want to go through and turn that off just at the beginning. You could always activate it later when you've got 5 or 10 people once you've spent some time thinking about how you want people to interact with the portal. Customers, not much here. You kind of have a quick setting to allow duplicates for the customer's display name, as well as the ability to customize all of your custom fields and buttons that you want on the page. Again, similar to books. Within the subscriptions tab, we can go through and determine what our naming convention should be for subscriptions. You can also decide whether you want to enable pause and resume. That's actually a new feature that they added not too long ago. Generally, you're going to want that on. It's not going to do anything unless you choose to pause it. So it's just another feature that you can have enabled. And lastly, you can set up partial payments. Realistically, with the fact that you're going to be auto billing the majority of these subscriptions, this would be really only used if someone's activated through the portal. Maybe they want to go into the portal and prepay half of next month, or maybe their card declined, and so they want to pay half of it now, and you can work out something with them. So you might want that on, but generally it's only going to come up if you are not auto billing or if you are accessing through the portal. Not too many options around products. Brett's going to dive deep into how to set up the products later. This is just a quick setting if you want to have specific images for your plans. Generally, you do, and we'll show you why later when it comes to building out a widget. This will oftentimes just have on for people. Payment mode. So this is kind of an interesting little menu here. You don't really do much in here. You'll actually go into the payment processing integrations to set this up. Credit notes, we're going to skip. That would be if you ever needed to do a partial refund or a credit back on a previous subscription, but those are just going to be your settings. How do you want them named? In here is kind of important. You can set up some default address formats for how you want things to appear on invoices or on anything that's going to be sent out to the customer as a document. So good to come in here and customize these. Oftentimes the defaults are going to work for you, but if you had a specific reason to format it differently, this is where you would go to do that. Now with retry settings, this is kind of where some of the power of Zoho Subscription lives. If you're familiar with the term, the dunning process, it's basically a standard way that subscription management tools will retry a credit card if it fails. So in this case, right, we're kind of able to set up how many times do we want it to retry, how many days do we want it to wait between retrying a failed credit card charge. And then we can also customize what emails we want to go out. In this case, right, all 3 failures would send the same email, but maybe you wanted to do a, hey, just letting you know your card failed as the first email. The second one you go kind of more of a warning. And the last one is a, hey, your service is going to turn off if we can't figure something out here. So kind of able to customize those and set up the rules that you want for subscriptions to try to charge credit cards if they do fail. Moving forward through taxes, you can go through here and set up sales taxes for every various state. We strongly recommend using Avalara, especially with subscription services. Different states tax them differently. Some states will tax digital services, some will not. So you really don't want to monkey around with this stuff. If it's a very simple product and maybe you just sell into a couple states, it's very obvious what your taxing needs to be. You could set it up manually. But Avalara is just, it's worth the extra cost to have that running across all the
so
books
important
apps.
Because sometimes it's right down to the various zip code that somebody's living in. You can have a city tax and all, and so it's almost impossible to set it up yourself unless you're only selling in one specific, city, one location, just like that. Great, you can do it yourself, but that's really what you would not be using this product for. So, like Tyler said, Avalara.
One last little note on that, installing Avalara here will also integrate it to Zoho Books. You're kind of installing it for the full finance suite once you do turn it on. Under templates is kind of a simplified version of what we'll see over in Books. You can choose whether or not these should go out to people automatically, but it does give you the ability to customize these PDFs. Again, changes here are going to reflect over inside of Books. Our next section here, I'm highlighting on the left with the red box on this page, because once you click hosted payment pages, it's actually going to open you up into a full screen. This is kind of where you can go in and customize what the actual page looks like when someone is going to pay. This is all pretty basic information. If you wanted to change the names of columns, if you wanted to require certain fields, you can kind of go through here and do that. Over on the left-hand side are all the various sections that you might want to customize. But really, this is just working with a pretty basic little form where you're going to add or remove fields and decide what should be mandatory. Next, there's kind of a whole set of email notifications that are going to be on by default. These are things like their portal information, requesting payment methods if things fail, notifications if subscriptions are updated, canceled, expired, and so on. This tab is also where you'll go to change any of those templates. So under the word default, I could actually pull that up and change the language that I have. I would recommend doing that if you're going to get started with subscriptions. You're going to want to go through all these various emails, whether it's the retry settings, the email notifications here. They're not bad, but they're all very, very plain. So you might just want to dress them up a little bit, whether it's with a little HTML or just some better language and fonts. They all are clear and they communicate what they mean, but you'll probably want to add your own branding and language around these notifications. Next, we have a little section here for reminders. This is really just if an invoice has become overdue. Oftentimes, again, these are really only going to come into play if you're not auto charging, because if you are trying to auto charge, it's really the retry settings that are going to apply before any of these reminders are. But if something failed through the entire retry setting, then you would start having these invoice reminders go out to get paid on that transaction. Lastly here, and we won't dig too much into this, but they do, of course, have the full suite of automation tools within Zoho Subscriptions. So whether you want to set up a webhook, maybe post some data out to your own system, set up some automated emails that don't quite fit with the default ones that they have set up, or if you wanted to run any custom deluge functions like we often do, maybe you want to build on top of the CRM integration, or post some ticket over to desk to do some onboarding if someone subscribes. You could code all that out here with custom functions using a variety of triggers. So, things like the subscription being created, each time a payment goes against a subscription, and so on and so forth. Lastly here, one of our last ones on this page is the developer space. I'll just touch on this really quickly. It really just matters if you are running custom code into here. You might just want to keep an eye on what is consuming your API credits each day, just to make sure that you never run out or have any issues where your code is going to stop running. This only matters if you're running custom automation. So creating a subscription payment, none of those consume API calls, only custom functions or integrations do. And lastly, we'll kind of jump through the different integrations that you can plug in. SMS integration will allow you to do a variety of automated texts out to your customers. It all runs through Twilio, and a lot of this is kind of default. So they're going to set up some basic templates, some basic workflows for you if you want to roll this out. Of course, you're going to need some automated payments in here. The big one, as always, is going to be Stripe. But of course, you could use Authorize.net. You can use WePay, PayPal, any of these. The one I will highlight that is not here is Square. And it's actually a Square thing that they don't work as much around auto charging. So you could set them up if you wanted to do a recurring invoice. It gets sent and then they choose to pay it. But if you want it to automatically charge, we always recommend using Stripe. It's kind of the best in class for making this easy. Next here, of course, the whole gambit of Zoho applications, whether it's CRM, books, analytics, Click for notifications, Desk if you want to reference a subscription while you're working on a ticket. This could be its whole own video, but just know that subscriptions is tightly tied into really the whole variety of Zoho applications. And you can build on top of that using the custom functions as well. Now, they do also have a bunch of different integrations here, things like Zapier, of course, WordPress to embed hosted payment pages a little bit easier. I will highlight you don't need to use that integration to get these onto WordPress. It'll give you the code directly. But if you do want an easier way to just pull that in, you can surely do that. And then, of course, Zendesk, Slack, Avalara, like we talked about, and so on. And then lastly, I do just like to highlight this. There is one little section here to pull a data backup. So whenever in doubt, you can just come in here and pull every single data element out of subscriptions into some CSVs if you ever wanted to just have a local copy of anything as a backup. And with that, I'll hand it over to Brett to kind of talk through how you go about setting up your products and plans.
Thank you, Tyler. All righty. So products and plans is kind of where the rubber meets the road when going ahead and setting up your subscription. So when you click in past the dashboard, you will see products highlighted over on the left-hand side, and you're going to get started by adding a product. Now, a product is not an actual subscription. It is kind of a category of subscriptions, if you will. So in this case, we're setting up our car wash services and our car wash subscriptions. Now, it Zenatta, for example, we have a set of subscriptions that are for support, and we have a set of subscriptions that are all around health checks and development. And we categorize these as different products. So there'll be support subscriptions, there'll be health check subscriptions, there'll be development subscriptions. So you have these in separate boxes. You can then easily apply different coupons and different add-ons and other things to them. So it's really important that you kind of figure out what are my product groups that I'm going to want to have my subscriptions in. In this case, we're just going to start with one, and this is going to be car wash services. So once you've gone ahead and set that up, you'll see that you've got a product called car wash services, and now it is time to add a plan to the car wash services. So once you click on that, you're going to be brought to the add a plan screen. Fairly straightforward. So we've got the bronze plan here. You can give it a plan code. This can be anything you want. I did BP monthly for bronze plan monthly. And then you give it a unit name. Unit name is really useless. It really doesn't matter. But you can put in an M here for month. You can go ahead and customize these on the back end if you want. Then you go ahead and put your price in, and you say it's going to be billed every month. Auto renews till it's canceled, but you have the ability here. You can say every 3 months, every year. It's a lot of different things. You can go ahead and set this up. You can expire it after a certain number of billing cycles. It's very customizable as to how you set it up, what the intervals are, and when it renews, when it cancels, when it doesn't. You also have the ability to go ahead and set up a free trial if you want. So person can subscribe to this, and they're not going to be billed for 7 days, 30 days. You can charge a setup fee. So we actually have a subscription around our health checks where we're going to go in and we're going to do a complete review of your entire CRM, set up a whole bunch of reports, and get everything ready. So on every month we can tell you what's going on in your CRM. Well, there's a $175 setup fee for that because it's relatively inexpensive on a monthly basis. So we've got the setup fee in there. And so you may want to do that depending on the type of product or service you're offering. And then of course you can go ahead with your sales tax and the rest. And very important here, I want to talk about the plan features. This is what shows up in the widget. So you can actually type these in. Now, if under the plan description, you separate everything with pipes up here, that also will put everything in a list view, and you can kind of take this and copy it and paste it into your plan features here, and it'll break these down as to individual features. And when Tyler goes through things here in a little bit, that'll make a little bit more sense. And now, as you can see, once you save that, you've got a plan. So this is our bronze plan. It's got the code. And I want to go back one more thing. At the in the middle here, you'll notice I checked include in widget. Really, really important. You check that if you're going to build a widget. We'll cover that a little later. But if you want to have Zoho go ahead and build out your entire subscription page for you that you can just drop in your website, you want to make sure that that box is checked. And now you've got your plan. Well, of course, you've got no image, and Tyler talked about that a little earlier. So you can go ahead and upload an image, and we've uploaded our car wash image. So we've got that plan. Now, of course, we're going to want to have some more. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to build out a silver plan. All I did here was change the price. Everything else is the same. I've got no new features in it at all, still monthly. And now I'm going to go ahead and build a silver plan out, but I'm going to make it yearly. So as you're building your plans, if you're going to offer a monthly subscription and a yearly subscription, you'll want to build a completely separate plan. So we have a silver plan annual, silver plan monthly, and you'll want to set that up. That is going to be very important, again, when you build out your overall widget so that you can put this all together. So at the end of the day, we went ahead and we built out 6 plans here. So we've got the 6 plans, and we've got our 3 monthly plans, our bronze, our silver, and our gold. And then we have got our 3 annual plans, bronze, silver, and gold. So we have these plans all built out, each single one for every product category, some of them having different services than the others. And so you really want to make sure that you really distinguish these. Think about them ahead of time. Think about what your pricing is going to be. Oftentimes on an annual plan, people want to give a 10% discount, a 20% discount. In this case, we actually just knocked 2 months off the price. So you want to kind of think about that ahead of time before you go ahead and you start building these out. Now, once that's all done, well, we need to go ahead and we need to do add-ons and coupons. You can see you got 6 plans, but no add-ons and no coupons. What are add-ons and coupons? Well, let's dive into that. So an add-on is something that person can purchase over and above the basic plan. So up in the upper right-hand corner there, you go ahead and you'll click on add-ons, and now you can build an add-on. So I've gone through the car wash, but maybe it just gives me an air dry. But if I want it to be hand dried. So when I pull out of the car wash, I can go ahead and someone's going to go ahead and take care of my car, make it all bright and shiny. So I'm going to go ahead and do a monthly hand dry plan, and we're going to go ahead and make that only apply to the bronze, silver, and gold plans, because this is the monthly charge. It's $19.99 a month on top of your regular fee, so that you can get your car hand dried. And now go ahead and repeat that twice. So now we've got the hand dry annual plan and the hand dry monthly plan. And those are two add-ons that at checkout, people will be able to add to their subscription. And so very, very straightforward and simple there. Now for coupons, a little bit different. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, there's your plans. By the way, you also can always double check here what they're associated with, whether they're associated with the monthly plans or the annual plans. You always want to verify that and make sure these are tight. Now, if you want to add a coupon, it's not up on the main menu. You're going to have to click more and then go ahead and click add coupon. And again, really straightforward. So here we're going to do a new customer discount. It's $29.99 off no matter what plan they buy. It's just a one-time discount. You can make it a forever discount. You can, basically. So by the way, the thing about this is when you set up these discount codes, maybe you want to say that, they're going to use this once on the plan, or it's going to be every time, or there's a limited number of times that they can redeem this coupon. So you want to be kind of careful when you do that. Normally, you just want to make it one time for a person, and that's going to be their overall. That's the number of times they can use it. And then again, you've got to associate with your plans. You can associate it with add-ons. In this case, I'm saying none. And you can also set a validity on this. So it's only good for a year until July 31st, 2022. And you could also set the maximum number of redemptions. So maybe you want to put something out there that says, hey, we've got 50 coupons available, and that's all we've got. And it's a limited time offer. Go ahead and subscribe now. Join our plan. There's only 50. And once they're gone, they're gone. And
there's one additional thing to kind of make sure you are aware of when you're setting up a coupon. Well, notice here that the way Brett set this up was on purpose, where it's associated with all the plans, but not the add-ons. If you do, it's a little bit of an oddity. So just have it in the back of your mind as you go to set this up. If you've associated a coupon with a plan and an add-on, and you apply that coupon to a active subscription that has that plan and has the add-on, the discount will apply on both. So if you're doing something like a flat 10% discount on the whole service, that's perfect. You'd want it to apply to the plan and all of the add-ons. But if you're doing something like this new customer discount that's a flat rate, well, you don't want to give them $60 off if they opt in for the hand dry. You still just want to give them $30. So if you're ever in that case, you're pretty much safe to just have it apply to your plans, because you won't end up double dipping if you do add one of those add-ons onto that plan.
Yeah, it's super important. If you want an add-on coupon, just change the associated plans to none, and then the associated add-ons to the add-ons you want it to be associated with.
Exactly.
Good catch there. Okay, so now we have set up our plans. You can go ahead and look at your overall product. You can see I've got 6 plans, 2 add-ons with 1 coupon, and you can see all of your add-ons and coupons. They actually rest right underneath all of your overall plans. So it's really straightforward setting these up. It takes no time at all. I think we built out our little car wash and hot dog stand in about 30 minutes, added all of these plans in, added the coupons, added the add-ons, and now you're ready to present them to the public. So with that, Tyler, let's talk about websites and widgets.
Got it. So I'll kind of jump into this. There are 2 main ways that you can go about getting these onto your site so that customers can sign up. You can basically either use Zoho's pre-built widget, which we'll cover, or you can grab either a link or a direct embed for just the payment page if you want to build a page around it to sign up. So I'll walk through the widget and then I'll show you an example of doing it yourself. It never hurts to start with the widget, but you can do some kind of better design around things if you do build it out on your own website. So let's go ahead and jump in. Oops. So again, from our dashboard here, we'll navigate to products on the left-hand side and get started from there. So each of the products has a widget. So you don't have a widget for an individual plan, you have a widget for a product. And that's where what Brett highlighted earlier becomes important, where if maybe you had a plan on here that was, for friends and family, right? And so you want someone to be able to sign up for this friends and family plan directly, but you don't want to put it on your website. You'd have that unchecked. So now, given that we have our plans here, how we want them, and they're all organized under our product, we can go ahead under the embed widget settings and take a look at what that will be. So as a default, it's always going to come with this nice little purple. Of course, on the left-hand side, we can go ahead and hex code that to whichever color your brand prefers. Up here at the top, this monthly and yearly, that's actually part of the widget. So that will appear on your page if you have that turned on. And so, we can take a look at this on a monthly basis as well as on an annual basis. And it's going to be smart enough here. We'll look over on the left to know that this is an annual plan or a monthly plan and keep them categorized that way. Down here at the bottom under the subscribe button, you see where those products and services actually come in. So that's where, based on whatever we said, each of these gets, it's going to kind of use those check marks and show those off as features of that subscription. Now, over here on the left are some of the additional settings. You can choose to group this by frequency. You're pretty much always going to want to have that on so that you have this monthly and annual toggle. It's kind of the standard way of doing it. But if for whatever reason you did not want to do that, you could uncheck that box and kind of create your own groupings. And then down here at the bottom, we can change things like the caption on the price. If you wanted to, do a little tagline in there. You can change the button that's actually going to appear on that subscribe page, as well as the button color to set it up so that it matches your brand. So with this, there is this baseline customization. You can color code it, you can set up your different features, but that's kind of it. So if you have some simple subscription products, this is a great way to do it because it will take you about 5 minutes to get through here and set up the color coding, grab the code and drop it on your site. Once you are ready to actually get it embedded, all you need to do is come up here to the top right, and that's going to copy it.
I also want to point out real quickly, you can also change the template. There's the change template in the upper left-hand corner there. That way you can make it, if you don't like it, vertical like this, you can do a horizontal layout. You can do it with the icon. You can move the icons around. They give you, I think, about 7 or 8 different choices as far as your overall layout goes on that too. So you also do get a little bit of flexibility with the overall layout.
Yep. And then from there, you basically would copy that code and send it over to your web developer to embed on the site. And so that kind of represents option 1, is using those widgets. Now, the second way that we can do this is actually through this share hosted payment page button that pulls up for a specific plan. Now, as I go to the next slide, we're actually going to jump into Zenatta's subscriptions. It will not pull up the share hosted payment pages unless you have a payment provider integrated. So you have to have a Stripe or, WePay actually plugged into subscriptions before it will let you grab those, which kind of makes sense because without one of those providers, someone would not yet be able to sign up. So if we grab one of our example subscriptions here, for a website health check, there are 2 different ways you can pull this out. So one of them is going to be a direct link. So we'll see there the URL down at the bottom. That actually just creates a full web page. So you can grab that link, you can navigate directly to it, and you can subscribe for a subscription directly from here. So one way that we've had people set up subscriptions before is that they'll go ahead and build the UI on their site. And when you click that subscribe button, it does a pop-up, maybe it's an embed, maybe it's to a new page, right? And they just use that URL, nice and easy as a pop-up, and you can subscribe and, move on forward that way. The way that we kind of like to do this, and we recommend people do this if you have, if you've got the time and the web development resources, is you can actually grab this embedded iframe. And so again, this is kind of just a simple little bit of code that allows you to embed this on your site. Your web developer will know exactly what to do with the iframe. And using this, you can actually put it onto your site. So, our web developer and designer created a page here, and you'll see, with all these various check marks and kind of sub items, you just wouldn't really be able to create this level of detail of what's being included using the widget with just its kind of simple list of checkboxes. And so everything on this page is a custom HTML. But then when you click on that subscribe, now we're just using this embed from that subscriptions page on our site. So you're still on Zenatta.com. You've not been redirected to subscriptions.zoho. And because we've done the embed, we're able to surface, again, any of these features and benefits that do come along with the product. So generally speaking, we like doing it this way. This is how we do it ourselves. The widget also works perfectly. If you do just have a simple product page and you want to drop it in ASAP, but you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you actually want to allow your customers to sign up for your various plans. And so now I'll pass it back to Brett and we can walk through some of the subscription management and how you actually go about working within Zoho Subscriptions.
All right, so pretty straightforward. You'll just go from your main dashboard and you will click on the subscriptions. This is going to give you a list of everybody that is subscribed to your various car wash services. So here we've got Billie Eilish and Billy Idol, both subscribers to our plans, different generations, different things. Billy's more of a bronze guy. Eilish is more of a gold plan. So basically, you're looking at the two of them. This is going to give you everybody. It's also going to tell you what all of their statuses are. So you can go ahead and look and say, hey, great, it's live. They're active. They were billed on July 16th. They're next going to be billed on August 21st. And if you click into a person, you'll get an overview of everything that's gone on with the subscription, what they've purchased. In this case, it's the gold plan monthly with the hand dry monthly. It's got the total fee. It tells you when they've been billed, kind of what you saw on the main page as well. You can go ahead and look at the overall invoice history. Clearly, they just started with this. And if you had any recent activities, there aren't any, you could click on that as well. And then when you click on the More button here, you kind of did a little more detail. You can go ahead and add a coupon, put a one-time ad on it, add a separate charge to it, enable metered billing, which was talked about earlier. But the big one, which most people are going to do here, is it's going to be cancel and delete subscriptions. Now, you'll notice something is missing here, which is pause subscription. By default, as Tyler was talking about earlier, pause description is not on. It should be, but it's not on by default. So you're going to want to turn that on when you're talking about managing your subscriptions. And what you're going to do is click on settings and then preferences, and then go over to subscriptions and enable pause and resume. Once you've gone ahead and done that, well, your cancel subscription, delete subscription will now add a pause subscription option for you there. And that's going to be really important because here's what you're going to get. Delete subscription is going to be a rare thing you'll never do. You are going to have someone who calls up and says, just cancel my subscription. You'll be using that one a lot. But more often than not, someone just wants to take a break. They want to take a pause. They're going on vacation. They've got something going on. So you're really going to want to go ahead and pause that subscription for them. It keeps it active. So the pause subscription will bring up this dialog box. I want to pause it immediately. And then you can say it resumes on the next scheduled date, resumes on the next renewal date. Or in this case, I set it to October 1st, 2021. Billy's on Eilish over the summer and she will not need her car washed. So very straight, you can put your explanation in there. So on October 1st, she comes back from tour. She'll be coming in for a car wash. And now on your overview, it'll tell you straight up top that the subscription has now been scheduled to resume on October 1st, 2021. It's really, really a straightforward management of these subscriptions. They make it very easy. Again, when you're looking at all of your subscriptions, you can see who's paused, who's live. You'll see if they're overdue. By the way, that's a big one where the subscription, maybe it didn't hit automatically, so it's overdue. But this is just a general dashboard and pretty much very, very easy to manage everything you've got going on with all of your clients and all of your subscriptions. All right, and with that, we're going to wrap it up. If you have any questions or comments, please head over to Zenatta.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find all of our episodes of our podcast, where we cover all of the weekly news of Zoho every single Monday. We'll have links out to any of those updates. As always, we'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next time.